Hello and welcome to Grade 7 Science, What's Inside of the Nucleus. We've been discussing for some time now about when we look at living things around us under a microscope, they begin to look very different. We got so far as to discuss the different parts inside their cells and the functions of these different parts. As we start a new unit on genetics, I'd like you to think about what you'd see if you had a microscope powerful enough to look at all the smallest levels of things that make up our most important organelle, the nucleus. What would we see there? What if we could zoom in even more? What would we see those parts are made of? Now, the first thing that you'll need today is the lesson notes that our teacher gave you. Your worksheet will look something like this. Welcome back. The purpose of doing self-paced lessons like this one is to allow students to move at their own comfortable pace while engaging with the material in the same way education is now being offered all over the world. You will notice at several points that you may need to pause the video, write some notes, and then come back to the video. At other points you may actually need to pause, rewind it a few seconds, and then play the video again. All of this is normal and it's expected. It's one of the advantages of doing lessons in this video format. Another advantage is that this lesson is available in the classroom as well as out of the classroom. I hope you enjoy it. I'll remind you that if I show you red font, that's an indication of a key point that you should be writing down in your notes. At the end, you'll complete a short quiz on the OLC. In the last unit, we looked at commonalities and differences between animal cells, plant cells, and cells in general. We learned about a dozen distinct organelles and their functions, and we became masters of the compound microscope. In this unit, we'll be focusing on just one organelle, the nucleus. And we'll learn why this particular organelle determines so much about the organism it belongs to. As you most likely already know, the nucleus contains a very special chemical we call DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid. It is the DNA that actually runs things from controlling cell activities, holding the blueprints to making new cells, and also providing the instructions for making the all-important substance that we call proteins. You might remember from our friends Tim and Moby that at the center of the nucleus is another round structure called the nucleolus. They told us about it being responsible for making the ribosomes, and in our reading we learned that these have the job of hooking amino acids together to make those proteins that we talked about earlier. But there's still more to the inside of the nucleus than just holding the nucleolus. Much of the rest of the space inside the nucleus holds a substance called chromatin. Chromatin is made of both DNA and proteins. You see, DNA is a really long, thin molecule, kind of like thread. Stretched out, it would be about 2 meters in length, or as tall as many professional basketball players. You're probably wondering how something so long can fit inside a microscopic cell's nucleus. Well, because it is so thin, it easily winds itself up around protein molecules, just like thread can be wound up around a spool. This way, it takes up much less space, and we call the result chromatin. As we'll discuss in the lessons to come, chromatin is like a tangled up, winding piece of thread with knots in it. Usually, it's coiled up into larger structures called a chromosome. So, the nucleus contains chromosomes, and chromosomes are structures of chromatin, which in turn is made up of DNA wound around proteins. Whoa, that is complex. Even though chromosomes can be in a variety of shapes, the most common shape we see it depicted as is in the shape of an X, like the one you see here. Once again, one piece of DNA is really long and has tons of information in it. Since it is like the entire encyclopedia set that explains the entire makeup of an organism as complex as a human, one small piece of it would be called a gene. one human chromosome has one molecule of DNA, and that one molecule of DNA will have thousands of genes on it, each gene describing one particular trait of that organism or of that human being. Let's take a closer look at one of these chromosomes, since these will be the focal point of this unit. As I mentioned earlier, chromosomes are generally depicted as an X, even though they often have other shapes as well. Like all things in science, we strive to observe deeply and then describe the different features of what we are observing. Let's give some names to some of these features. If you chopped this chromosome right down the middle, it would have two halves, and these halves are called chromatids. The place where the chromatids were connected will be called the centromere, which is good because it represents the center. Again, the whole thing is made from something called chromatin, and chromatin is a molecule of DNA wound around proteins. If we keep unraveling this chromosome into its chromatin, and then zoom in and then unwind the chromatin so that we look at the DNA, we'll see that DNA has a peculiar shape. It has two halves that are connected down the center in a twisted ladder shape. We call that a double helix. As I mentioned earlier, DNA is a super long molecule with huge books worth of information in it. A single sentence in that book would be like something called a gene. The genes are the small sections of DNA that contain the code for the production of proteins. And you can also think of it as determining just one trait of the organism. For instance, you might have one gene that tells your cells what color to make your eyes. Or you might have another gene that tells it what color to make your hair. Let's zoom in just a little bit more at a couple of rungs or steps on the twisted ladder of DNA. Each step is actually a chemically bonded pair of two things, each called a nucleotide. All nucleotides contain three parts: a sugar, a phosphate, and a base. There are only 4 different bases, and these are the most important part of the nucleotides. The 4 bases are called adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. It's actually the order of these bases and the way that they are found in the DNA molecule that creates the code for DNA and everything that makes up life on this planet. I'd like to thank you for following along with this self-guided lesson. It will be the first of several that you see this year, and I hope that it gave you a general overview of the topics to come in this unit. At this point, you should proceed to the OLC's online work and take the What's Inside the Nucleus understanding check until you get all 5 out of 5 questions. Good luck.